Hello, Crafty Friends. This is Jen, and thank you for joining me today. Today, I have 3 different card ideas for you, all using Karen Burniston's coffee cup pop-up. I won't actually be showing you how I made the actual cards, but just the coffee cup pop-up ideas. So I got thinking that it would be fun to make the coffee cups into different Christmas-themed ideas. So such as Santa, a snowman, and a reindeer. So I'm starting with the Santa coffee cup. And I bought some like light peach, almost fleshy colored cardstock. It is 110-pound cardstock. And I die cut the coffee cup pop-up out of this colored paper. And then I added some red cardstock to the top of the coffee cup lid. And I used Karen Burniston's Character Add-ons 2, which is actually meant for the different pop-up balls, the like bitty ball or the mini ball or the surprise ball. And instead I used them on to make the faces for the coffee cup pop-up. So I've die cut the Santa nose and the Santa mustache. The beard actually comes from the mini ball add-ons 1 Gnomes, and it fit perfectly for what I was doing here. And I was just taking an N0 Copic marker and just kind of making some lines to make it look like whiskers in the beard, and I'm using a size 10 jelly pen to add some shine lines to the nose. And then I'm just going to kind of play around and see where I want everything to go. Now, as I made these and then went to put my final cards together to show the pictures for the end of the video, I would recommend, if I did this again, I would recommend using a lightweight cardstock for all your accessories. I used heavyweight cardstock for everything, and it kind of toughens up the coffee cup to put into the card with the little napkin. So I would definitely suggest using lightweight cardstock for the facial features. If I did it again, that's exactly what I would do. So I'm just kind of playing around, putting the face together, and I'm using Lancome Neutral pH adhesive in my fine tip bottle. So I've added the beard, and there isn't a bottom piece to that beard, but I wanted to get the red suit section on first. So I'm just adding some shine to the eyes. And then what I did was I cut the coffee cup pop-up, but in red cardstock. And I'm just trimming that. And then I'm going to add like a bottom to it, kind of like his suit. And I'm just going to kind of line it up on the beard. And then just make a little mark with a pencil on both sides. And now I'll take my ruler and just make a line from each mark. Now I can trim that off, and then I can add it to my card. But I make sure that I erase the pencil line first. So that butts right up against the beard. And then I'm just going to glue that on. And then from there, I'm going to create a belt. And I thought maybe it was too much red, and I was going to test out a green like lid for the coffee cup, but it looked better in red. So I decided instead to add some shadow to this. So I used a Copic R29 and then blended that out with R24. And that just kind of gave it a little bit of dimension to the top of the coffee cup. So this little buckle comes with the Character Add-ons 2 die set, which is Santa and Mrs. Claus. And so I just trimmed out a piece of black cardstock And but I die cut it from the coffee cup so it would fit perfectly. And I'm just going to take my ruler and then just trim a small little belt to go with the buckle. But I wanted to make it small enough that it would fit through that gold buckle. And then I'm just going to trim that out with my craft scissors once I get it straight. So trim that out. And then I'll feed it through the gold belt buckle. Just watch your fingers doing this. And I'm just going to pop that through, and once the other side, just pop that out. Okay, so I'm going to slide this on, make sure it's centered, and then glue it on to my card. And now that I have my belt buckle on, I can add the little extra piece of beard. But first I want to trim off any excess. There was none on that other side. So there's the other little piece of the beard. And I'm just going to go in with the N0 and add some lines on it to make it look like hair. And then add that to the bottom of my beard. And then what I'm going to do is go in with my N0 again and just really highlight those little whiskers. And there's our Santa. So next we're going to make a snowman. So I die cut the coffee cup pop-up from white cardstock, and I'm just adding all my folds. For this one, I used the Snowman Add-ons die set. And for this, I made a green coffee cup lid, and I'm just going in with YG25 to add some detail to the lid. Then I'm going to glue that onto my coffee cup. I want to clean out the tip of my glue bottle. There we go. And we'll add that to the top. Now I'm going to color in the nose. There is a little like fold line on there, but I just kept it on there. And I'm going in with YR09, YR07, and then I'm going to blend that all together with YR04. And I'm just trying to like play with the nose and the eyes and stuff just to see where I want everything to go. And I want to add a scarf, but as you can see, that scarf piece is very long, so I am going to have to trim that. And I want to still be able to fit the mouth in. So I'm just kind of trying to play and figure out where I want everything to go. Before I glue it down, make it permanent, and then I don't like it, which sometimes happens. Now, I did die cut all of the black circles for the snowman face from a shiny black, it's almost kind of like a black mirrored cardstock, which I got from Michael's. Now, I die cut another piece of white, of the coffee cup pop-up from white, and this is so that I can make the scarf. And I'm going to use Copic markers to make the scarf, because I'm going to show you how to make a cool plaid, how to make a plaid, like a pattern looking, I don't know what the word I'm looking for here is, to make plaid using Copic markers. There we go. I apologize. So now I'm just going to try and figure out how far down I need to trim that little scarf piece. Because I want it to go over a little bit, and then, so I'm just going to mark where the edge is for the scarf that wraps around the snowman, and then trim off what I need for the top part of the scarf. Okay, so for this technique, oh, sorry, before I do that, I have to do the little cheeks. So I'm going to put my face on. I'm going to put my eyes on, and I'm just adding little dabs of glue, making sure that I have them straight and kind of even as best as you can. And then I'm going to, I have this chalk. I've had it forever. I've had this chalk since I first started scrapbooking back in 2003. So it's lasted a long time. And I have a little Q-tip that I use to add it on. And I'm just figuring out where the little rosy cheeks are going to go. And then just move the nose and add a little more of this chalk on. Now I can glue on my nose. And I'm just going to set that aside to dry. I like to use my craft blocks to keep things in place while they dry. Okay, so for this technique to make plaid, you're going to go in with whatever Copic marker colors you'd like to use. For this, I use G29. And then I went in with G07 and then blended those two together. And you can see I'm just quickly doing this. Nothing spectacular. This is not the technique part. This is like kind of the easy part. You just blend the colors together. I went in with YG25. Gave it a good blending. And like I said, you could use any color combination you'd like for the scarf. But this is where the technique comes in. So we are going to use the colorless blender. And I'm just going to make lines. Now I do have to go over it a few times to get it to show. But what it does is it just kind of takes away just enough of the color that it looks a little faded, but it's not so bright white if you use, say, like a jelly pen. So I'm just making lines going diagonally and horizontally. And when you're done, it has the look of plaid. And I'm going to do the same thing for the part of the scarf that looks like it's folded over. And like I said, you have to go over it a couple times. But when I do like a plaid shirt for, say, a cowboy, this is what I do. Or if you're doing a scarf or anything that you want to make look plaid, this is a good technique to use. Now I put the scarf on before I put the mouth on to my snowman because I wanted to make sure that I'm going to have room for everything. And then I realized where my nose is, I'm not going to be able to fit all the little black dots, and that was fine. And I'm just added little dabs of glue, and I'm using my quick stick tool to add the little mouth on. And there's your snowman. He's so cute. Okay, so moving on, we are going to make a reindeer. So I cut the coffee cup pop-up out of a heavyweight craft cardstock. And I'm just using my bone folder to fold the edges. Now for this, I used the Animal Add-ons 3. And I used the pieces to make the reindeer. So I used a red cardstock for the coffee cup lid. I used R29 and then blended it with R24, just like I did with Santa. And now I'm going to glue that onto my coffee cup. And there's so many cool animal add-ons that you could use. There's the penguin. You could even turn the coffee cups. It doesn't have to be Christmas themed or winter themed. You could do the bunny and have like a bunny coffee cup for Easter. So there's all kinds of neat ideas. I'm using a fine tip black marker pen to add the mouth to the snout. And don't worry about the nostrils because we won't be using those. So I'm going to glue on the eyes. And for the eyes, I didn't use the eyes that come with the Animal Add-ons 3. What I did was I just used the extra circles from the Snowman pop-up, or from the Snowman add-ons. And I'm going in with Distress Ink and Vintage Photo and going around the snout with that color. And my blending brush. And like I said, don't worry about those nostrils because we'll be covering them up with a nose. So I'm going to glue the snout on. And remove the dog hair. Thank you, Angus, for your contribution. And I'm going to highlight the nose with some red R29. And then I'm going to glue that over the nostrils. And we go from, we've now turned him into Rudolph. So for the ears, I am trimming off the little piece, it's like a little tab. I am trimming that off because we don't need that. Again, all these animals and character pieces were for the pop-up balls, so sometimes you have to trim off some of the little tabs. I'm going to color the inside of the ears with R20 and then R00. And I'm just blending those together, and then I'm going to glue them onto my ears. And this was kind of when I was like, where the heck am I going to put the ears and the antlers? And is it going to go out the end of the card? But it worked out perfectly. So I'm just going to glue the insides of the ears to the outside of the ears. And then we're going to glue those ears along the line of the coffee cup lid. And you just have to put glue on the bottom, and then me not thinking, even though I just done it, decided to take some of that glue off. Okay, so now I'm going to figure out where I want to put the antlers. And I decided to put them on the far side of each ear. And I'm only going to put them like the first two little antlers that stick out. And then there is going to be a little bit sticking out the edges, and I just took my craft scissors and trimmed that off. Right there and right there. So I'm just going to take those off. Now for this one, I wanted to add a bell. But unfortunately, the only bell that I could find that was part of Karen Burniston's line was a bell from the church tiny house add-on, but it wasn't the kind of bell I was looking for. So I managed to find a bell in with my Spellbinders set for the little ornaments that you can make. There's animal ones and there's Santa ones, and it makes like Christmas balls. And so I used the little bell from that. And everything that I've used for all of these cards will be listed in the description box below. So I have cut out a piece of green cardstock, and I'm just going over it with Copic YG25 just to give it a little bit of detail. And then I'm going to add that on to my coffee cup. And just give that a good press. And then I'm going to add my little bell, which I cut out of gold cardstock, like a mirrored gold cardstock. And now we have our reindeer. And I'm just going to add some shine lines before I finish up. You have to be really careful adding shine lines to those eyes because they're already a mirrored cardstock. And here's my finished cards. So there's the Snowman card, there's the Santa card, and our reindeer card. Thank you for joining me today. Have a great day.